is Acoustic Conversations, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have a big crowd here tonight. We're very excited to have the big crowd. I am Pete Wright. I am sitting on this side of the room on the fancy plush velour couch with Kurt. How are you, my friend?
Again, it's the starring role of Mike House.
Yes, it is. That. Yes, it is. And Shane Corsetti.
Hello.
Lovely as always.
I'm the eye candy of the group, that's for sure.
Indeed. Indeed. We need to get the calendar going.
Yes, we're working on it.
I still have that Motown picture of you on your Saturn.
That was ghetto fabulous.
Ghetto fabulous.
It was good.
Yeah, it was good. It's sepia tone.
Wow.
Our guest tonight, I have been a big fan of these guys, and actually, I just met many of you tonight. But the two of you were at the first show that I saw, right? The MS show. We've got Bart Ferguson and Crowd, and there's a lot of history, right? How long have you guys been playing together?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
It is. I think we need to start. Actually, we need to start. Let's start with introductions. Let's go around the room.
My name's Dave Coy.
Dave Coy.
And I've been playing music with Bart since 1995.
All right, 95. We have 95.
Yeah, we have 95. And actually, we were fans of each other. I came, and this is Bart speaking. I used to, we all went to U of O, University of Oregon, and I used to come watch these guys in 1985.
This would have been 9 Days
Nine
Wonder.
Days Wonder, and so I was a big fan of all of these guys, and watched them, and then when I finally met them, I was in a band called The Strangers that started in Eugene as well, and then we moved to San Francisco, and when 9 Days Wonder came down to play at the Last Day Saloon in San Francisco, I finally got to meet them. I didn't even meet them in Eugene. And I remember, it's always still funny to me that I thought that Dave was Ben and Ben was Dave. And yeah, I knew him like that.
25 years
So yeah,
later.
I mean that's 1980. Yeah, that was. Anyway, so yes, we've playing music with these guys has been an honor, and it's been a lot of fun, and watching them was the same. So, Mike.
I believe you kidnapped. Was that the one you kidnapped me and took me and recorded on your Joker in the Wheel?
Yes, it is.
That
That was 1990.
Yeah.
1990.
All right, so who are you?
My name is Mike
Hi, Mike.
Walker.
And you were
The
here playing the
Reverend.
piano.
I play piano and organ, and yeah, I've been playing with Bart for, what time is it now? No,
7:15.
I'm just joking. What month? For about the last year, I think, is when I helped aboard your band project, and then but have known him for just about ever since that day in San Francisco, and it's been fun bringing energy into his songs along with these other two guys, because there's a lot of history playing together that I think adapts almost reflexively to Bart's writing. It's been pretty fun.
And next to you, we have the other Dave.
Yeah, Dave. my name's Ben Sturgill. I lived in the dorms with Dave, 84, U of O. We had the best reverb tank on earth. It was the bathroom. And I would sit in the bathroom and play my guitar in there, and that's when I first ran into Dave.
Who was just sitting in there.
And then I had to leave.
This is so nice to have accompaniment while I'm here.
Wait, I'm not finished.
We had similar musical tastes, and we started playing together that spring at a friend of ours' birthday party, or a friend of Dave's birthday party. I didn't know anybody there but Dave, I think, at the time. And started playing with Bart, I think, in '96.
Yes.
After Dave and Bart had started a band, and I joined them for a few years. A band called Kerosene Dream. We made a couple records.
All right, so let's talk about Kerosene Dream. So it was 9 Days Wonder, and then somehow in San Francisco, there must have been some soap opera drama here.
No, 9 Days Wonder. See, there was 9 Days Wonder, then 9 Days broke up. And you guys tell the story.
9 Days
Yeah,
broke up.
why did 9 Days break up?
It had run its course, and it was a 6-year adventure, I think, something like that. It had been going on for quite a while. We toured around, played a bunch of different states, did a lot of shows, and so we broke up in '90 or so, and then well, you know, the Strangers are going simultaneously and
touring, and we were touring, and then the Renegade Saints were formed out of the ashes of 9 Days Wonder. We got this straight. So
were you part of the Renegade Saints?
I was part of the Strangers.
Yeah.
And Mike
Anyway,
anyway.
good luck with this.
For the listeners, they've already tuned out. This is they're
no, but
in bed by now.
here's what I'm interested in. There's a point to even going down this road, and is you look at music, and particularly as a band that is touring, that is gigging regularly, that is moving down this road of gaining traction, gaining momentum, gaining fans. What is it about this relationship that you have as a band that is also a business that gets you to the point of having to part ways? I mean, what is that line that says, you know what, I just can't be with you anymore, even though I'm working with you, I can't do this anymore?
It's a loaded question.
Whoa, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, I mean, you can have plenty of different scenarios, and you know, a lot of times it doesn't add up for personal reasons, but other times it doesn't add up because, as Dave said, something runs its course, and that there's plenty of different versions of what that means. But when a band makes a decision to do nothing but be a band for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and literally it's 7 days a week, you're in the same space, asleep, eating, playing, rehearsing, traveling, doing crossword puzzles, you know, all that
writing
stuff.
songs. Then buses.
It's a commitment between a bunch of guys, all of whom are artist types, and if it doesn't add up pretty magically, it's hard to make sustain. That's hurdle number one. And then hurdle number two is making it work on a sustainable level, a business level, enough money coming in, some sort of growth, and blah, 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 and continued inspiration as artists. And then lastly, achieving sort of that golden land where you're meeting some goals. And I think in almost all of these projects, I think it's fair to summarize that we carried on for at least half a decade in all of our projects, putting out a lot of music, playing a lot of shows in front of really nice big crowds, and in one way or the other, it stopped adding up. You've talked to the labels, and you're going to make what you're going to make, and you're going to be playing the pattern that you've been playing, and nothing is necessarily changing or improving, and you look around and say, you know, we can end this honorably. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, and you take a look around and say, you know, this was a good run, but there's not necessarily more up here, and we're getting a little tired. You know, we don't. You go out on the road many days a year. You never unpack your bags when you're home because you're just going to be putting stuff back in them way too soon. You know, and you know, run its course.
I remember unpacking my bag for the first time because the Strangers and the Renegade Saints toured for years, and we'd played out on the road. We even played over 50 or 60 shows together. I think it was.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
46.
Was it 46? Jesus. You have every recording of them, I know that. And then I remember unpacking my bag. It was the weirdest thing. When Kerosene Dream first started, we came off the road and put the clothes away, even though we eventually put them back in bags and toured differently.
And you
with
burned them and go get new clothes.
There's a thought.
There's a lot of, oops, okay. So Kerosene Dream was formed out of those two bands, pretty much, out of either 9 Days Wonder or the Renegade Saints, and then it became something different where Dave and I took on the lead songwriting roles for Kerosene Dream and singing that way and putting really every song into harmony and harmonica and guitar and working harmony with the guitar and the harmonica as well. So it was really fun and a lot of work. And I remember writing those songs. I mentioned it the other night during our show. We would sing all day long because that's all we would be doing, and play and sing and trying to come up with harmonies. When you sing and sing and sing, as you know, because you're a singer, you guys are singers, you know, when you're trying to hit that harmony, you're coming up with those, you lose oxygen to your brain. We would pass out a lot of times. You just have to lay down.
Wow.
It's just my God, you know, trying to hit harmonies that maybe you shouldn't be singing, and then you find the ones that you do. But it was really, really fun. So getting to know those guys and these guys on a level like that.
Yeah.
And again, we were living together and playing music every day, and it becomes a family, and you get it going. And I love that we're still together. It's a huge honor, and I love these guys, and I love playing music with them, and I look up to these guys. I sitting on stage with all of these guys and some of the other people in our band. It's really, really fun to have them playing a song that I've written, and then to watch them do their solos. So I really enjoy it.
Good morning, welfare hotel. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, vagabond childhood. Good morning. Raise my head from the backseat bunk of a 65 Impala jump. Good morning, welfare hotel. Yeah, good morning. Now I hate my school. I hate that nobody knows me. Hey, my school, thank God that nobody knows me. In my cradle of education life, neath the glow of a 7-Eleven sign. I hate my school, I hate that nobody knows me, yeah. I ain't got no time for me, but I'm alright, alright. No, I ain't got no time for free, but I'm alright, alright, alright. How I get my kicks from AM waves on the radio. I said I get my fix from music on the radio. I sang myself to Sweet Beach Night on the roadside out of sight. I get my kicks from AM waves on the radio night. No, I ain't got no time for me, but I'm alright, alright. No, I ain't got no time for free, but I'm alright, alright, alright. Good morning, welfare hotel. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, vagabond childhood. Good morning. I raise my head from the backseat bunk of a 65 Impala jump. Good morning, welfare hotel. Yeah, good morning. I ain't got no time for me, but I'm alright, alright. No, I ain't got no time for free, but I'm alright, alright. No, I ain't got no time today, but I'm alright, alright. No, I ain't got no time to play, but I'm alright, alright, alright.
Where does the music come from for you guys? What's the process look like? You got a new song. Does it come from one of you in particular usually, or at this point does everybody have a?
Is it a hey, check this out, or is it hey, let's come together and we're gonna write together? Or...
It depends on how you set the band up.
How's the band set up right now?
Right now,
Poorly.
Actually, that is a great question. How is the band set up?
I was wondering.
And I want to raise too. Actually, I think.
Oh yeah, do you have our money from the gig the other night?
Oh, I do. Yeah, that's how the band is set up.
I'm going to need that for the weekend.
What's funny about this, and you can tell me to shut up, but not yet.
Shut up.
But not yet. Every band kind of had its own process for putting songs together in the past, and I think what we're sort of looking at in this group is a lot of people who, we have gotten to the point in our lives where we're not trying necessarily to reach that promised land anymore. We're kind of realizing that playing this music is the promised land, and it's fun to just combine stuff, and we almost don't care what the songs are anymore as much as we care about finding excuses to get together and play these songs together. And that is a great, inspiring, fun type of thing to do. On the other hand, when it comes to practical things like your question, writing new material, stuff like that, I'm almost just having too much fun playing all the old stuff because, it's almost 100 songs between all of us of ready-made stuff that we can just kind of pull out and do, some of it better than others. but we rejoice so much in that. We haven't really talked about a process of songwriting. We've talked about processes of getting stuff rehearsed and tuned up and all that stuff. But we really haven't, gone into the method that we did in our previous stuff, like, wow, okay, what's the newest song and stuff like that, because we're just kind of relishing
the
old
agenda
stuff.
has changed.
Yeah.
Well, it's the songwriting process has changed because lives have changed. When you're doing music full time, You have all day to write songs, and
it's
now
important.
you have to find
and
time.
it's important to do it. Because it's
that's your livelihood.
It's if I got to write new songs. If you're in a band and you're actually trying to make it, you have to put it upon yourself to create a new product. Basically, if you want to look at it in kind of industrial terms, and we don't have that sitting in front of us anymore. The agenda's changed, and now it's all about getting together and having fun playing the songs that have been written.
When did that change? What was the defining? Is there a defining moment where you?
I think it just sort of
faded into.
Well,
May
with
15th,
wedding bells.
2002.
Storks. Right?
for me,
My daughter was born.
I gave it a good run. My last run was in 2002, I believe. I had an album come out, and we got some radio play across the country, and I thought, okay, this is actually may hit right now after all this time, and it ran its course. There's a window. You've got about a year from the release of an album and the release of a song, and if it doesn't hit, and it gets to a point, and we've all been at that point. We've all had songs on the radio that have gotten just to a point where they didn't get into, top 40 or didn't go hit.
They
didn't go big time. It didn't get past the.
It's fly or die.
Yeah, past AAA.
So is it really just that there's one critical mass point that you're hoping
Yes.
for? In which it
There's
gets
a tipping
successful?
point.
And that tipping point, it sounds like it's very, very high. Like it takes a lot to get to
And
that.
it takes a lot to get to the tipping point even. That's...
Overnight success takes a long,
Oh,
long
man.
time.
There's no such thing.
I think there are a lot of oddball exceptions these days,
Yeah.
but
Sunjaya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you thought about trying out for
in the past,
We're
back
all
when-
too old.
Back when we were
by
doing
much.
things, people actually had to work for a while before they got a break.
Well, our last guest was talking about that though, about writing great songs for and kind of being, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but he knew that that's what his market was. He wasn't going to be this overnight sensation. He knew that he was writing good songs and people were listening to it, and he wasn't going to explode and break through. He was at that threshold. Wasn't that kind of?
Yeah, and it really begs a question. How do you know? This may sound crass, so I apologize. How do you know when you haven't made it?
You're eating bananas and drinking milk and living on $4
Yeah,
a day.
yeah. Your ASCAP BMI check is $5.32.
That would be
When
it.
you're, yeah.
When a career furthering event has failed and there's
Yeah.
nothing on the horizon after it.
Then
When you're sleeping on Alan Bush's hardwood floor with nothing but a pillow.
right. I mean, you just know it. You can feel it.
Okay.
It's like the X Factor, and when you know you have it, like when things are on the rise, you feel it. It's an X Factor. It's like, hey, this thing's working, and the people are coming. And people have really never stopped coming to the show. That had really nothing to do with it. It just all of a sudden, you know that your album at that point has run its course, your single has run its course, and then you make a change. You know.
I think there's one master of knowing when that's been in his career, and that's Eric Clapton. He always seemed to just bail right at the top of the game in everything he was in. You know, the
Yardbirds?
the Yardbirds, the Blues Breakers, Cream, Derek and the Dominoes. He didn't have much to say, and then and then at that point he just was a solo guy.
I wanted to ask. I'm glad you
But
brought
he was
that up.
God.
What is? Well, yeah. And
Yeah.
then,
I mean, that helps.
and then Unplugged, and there's a whole second or ninth chapter to his career. Kerosene Dream turned into Bart Ferguson. Is that accurate?
No.
What happened there? The question I'm getting is what is it? What's in the name?
Well, it was from Kerosene Dream to where I went and Dave went our separate ways. We didn't really go our separate ways.
Did you duke it out first?
Kerosene Dream at that point had kind of run its course, and then I don't know. We felt like doing different things, so we kind of went solo. Dave went solo, I went solo. It was time to do something else, but both of us knew that we were never going to be away from what Kerosene Dream or singing together is, and playing with our close friends. But so what is that? Did that answer the question? How did that?
I don't think we got there yet.
Come about. It was just again time for another change.
What we're playing right now is actually kind of brand new because the Bart Ferguson Band was playing up until the winter of this year, and then our bass player Dan Decker moved or is in the process of moving. And when Bart asked Dave to come in, it kind of changed it because and I actually sent an email out to everybody saying, it was a lot of fun, but this doesn't really feel like the Bart Ferguson Band anymore.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of changed.
So
again.
I think at this point
It's
we're
morphing
morphing. I
right
threw
now.
an idea of a name out there. I won't say it, but
Come on, this isn't the bit. You're not going to launch it on.
Well, it's
on the
still
show
coming
yet?
together. I don't know where that's going.
it doesn't matter either.
It's just like
Do you
it's
know
like
what?
guys playing together now.
This must just be a whirlwind of information for people who don't
They don't know.
who don't know the story. Because my family and even Patricia, I mean, just about everyone in my life who isn't directly following the bands, but I talk to them all the time. They can't keep it straight
Right.
anymore.
That's
It's been
the thing.
it's been 22 years of rotating guys with Anglo-Saxon names all coming in playing various things. Okay. Well, first it was Ben, Mike, Pete, Al, or no wait, Ben, Mike, Pete, Dave, and Phil, and then it became Al and John and Mike and Dave, and we got a new drummer. He's Mike. I mean, and it keeps flipping around.
I know.
And there's not much linearness to this. Well, I think what you're looking at now is people who are recognizing the fact that there's a comfort zone to playing. Like the stuff that we've done tonight was largely reflexive in the sense of following each other and trying to complement the songs as best as possible. And I think that gets cultivated by like a lot of years of either listening or playing with each other. And that's what we're relishing in. And so we forget some of these technical details, like what are we going to call ourselves?
Yeah.
What are we going to tell the club we're called?
Yeah.
We don't even have a good
I
name
think it's
yet because it's
interesting
not a
because-
priority. It's so weird.
No.
Well, you look at new bands that spend, 80% of their time focusing on what the package is.
Yeah.
Right.
And here you guys are having played, for 20 years, 25 years together, and suddenly none of that stuff seems to matter
Yeah.
anymore. Success
weird.
means something else.
Yeah.
Where's our press pack?
Continually play, and being able to play together and
Tomorrow,
make good
promise.
music and have people come and relive memories or make new memories with the music. Some people, that to me is success. Is when they enjoy themselves and we enjoy ourselves.
That's
That's
all
it,
I'm
man.
looking
That's
for out
where
there
it's all.
right now.
That's what it's about.
Emily, can I come home to you? I'm freezing cold in these wandering shoes. Emily, can I come home to you? I'll wash the dishes and vacuum too. No lie. Oh, no lie. You're like a wagon wheel. You're like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Oh, you're like a wagon wheel. Like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Yeah. Maybe it's a catastrophe, a sexual obscenity. It's you and me in the savagery of love and fidelity. No lie. Oh, no lie. Oh, you're like a wagon wheel. You're like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Oh, you're like a wagon wheel. Like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Yeah. Emily, can I come home to you? Get drunk like we used to. Emily, can I come home to you? We'll do the hustle the whole night through. No lies. No lies. Oh, 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 oh. You're like a wagon wheel. Like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Oh, you're like a wagon wheel. Like a wagon wheel rolling over my heart. Yeah, my heart. Hey, my lonely, lonely. Hey, my lonely, lonely.
it's interesting. I mean, the same concept of like the redefinition of the term success. You know, as the career continues, it came up in our last show as well. And so it kind of makes me curious. You know, like with the perspective that you have now, like what would you offer as advice to like the bands that maybe are just kind of starting out, that are wanting to make it? You know, like what would you tell them?
Buy good tires.
Yeah, AAA.
Yeah.
I would
And then
concentrate.
AA later.
I mean, concentrate on your
Extended warranty.
concentrate on your fundamentals.
Uh-huh.
Sing well,
Uh-huh.
write good melody. Stick to that. I mean, really. I mean, that's what for me. That's listen to Simon Cowell.
Uh-huh.
I mean, truly, that dude, he's on it. He knows. He did, and that's really what you got to get down to is fundamental of music.
What would you tell them about like their expectations?
Oh, I would say have a great time creating and performing,
Yeah.
and do not pin your heart on a career.
Yeah, bingo. This is the big adjustment, because there are a lot of musicians who feel like they need to pay their dues and suffer through the experience of being a band, a young band, in order to get signed. I think there's better wisdom out there about the frailties of getting signed myth. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of musicians who are like, if they work hard enough, they're going to find the moment where they're happy and creative. And the advice that I always give is enjoy it now. If you're not enjoying it now, you're not going to be the musician that you want to be. If you're not enjoying it now, you're probably going to look back at years of misery, as opposed to my experience, which I feel very lucky to say, I can look back at all these years, even the bad times, as being very real times and honest times and ultimately good times. And we didn't ultimately make it, quote unquote, but I had some of the best years of my life looking back, and there was not a trade-off. It was all good. Wouldn't ever do it again because it would probably kill me at my age. But if you're not in the moment and if you're not enjoying it, you should probably get out, because you're playing odds that are probably lower than the lottery in terms of making it, and you're probably fixating on things that are mirages and are myths.
The sense that I get from talking to like other younger musicians, like I have a couple of friends that are trying to put together their first band, their first CD. There's this sense that, you know, like they're kind of starting out and they've got their big goals of what the next step is, and they don't see what's after that. You know, it's kind of like, you know, if we just need to get this first CD in the can.
Well, yeah.
And,
You know
and
what?
then it'll be fine.
And they should never lose sight. I mean, never lose the dream, never lose the hope, especially when you're starting out. Because you know what? It happens. It happens. And the advice I would give is go for it. I mean,
No. Stop.
Put your
Don't go.
You
Don't
gotta
go for
live it. I mean, because it's still possible.
Hesitate.
I'm
not.
still
Sure.
trying to make it, you guys. I'm still trying to make it.
Well, you can do both.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole idea. But if you're not in the if you're not in the moment now, you're not going to be in the moment later.
Be in the moment and live it.
We
and
were
love
totally
it.
going for the dream.
Absolutely.
You know? But we were also very much enjoying the moment.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Each
that was
city,
a
each
blast.
sport.
That was absolutely a blast.
There were
And
many moments.
Many moments.
a lot of
But-
our music was unapproachable on commercial levels.
At
when we were
times,
that?
a lot of
What
it
is-
was approachable though.
What does that mean right now?
Well, especially pre-AAA, you know, before they established even music that was.
Is AAA even around anymore?
It still is.
Is it?
But
Are we AAA?
I don't even
Kinks
know.
Now,
right?
educated. What is
Well,
AAA?
AAA was a format such as, let's say, AOR or indie rock or alternative or stuff like that. But when we were first touring, this was the days of Little Women being out on the road and bands that were doing a lot of stuff that was approachable for smaller markets, people that were into like a lot of jamming, a tradition of rock that was not on the radio, was not getting signed.
We were in
And
the
then-
circles of the Blues Traveler or Dave Matthews.
At
and,
best. Well, but the thing is that it wasn't until the early 90s they established sort of a radio format that was starting to welcome, like, I guess it would be maybe the Mountain in Seattle is the closest AAA station. Kink is doing a lot of AAA style stuff locally to Portland, but it is something that is maybe a little more songwriter based, a little more our style. And we started thinking, wow, there could actually be a signing possible. And up until that moment, we were just out there because we wanted to have fun, you know. And then it started to be a doable thing, and that almost screwed us up.
Oh,
Because then we're like, okay, so what's that format look like? What do we have to do?
Yeah, talk a little more about that. How do you mean like it almost screwed you up?
What does it mean to be a musician that just wants to go out on the road and just play? Because and you know it's relatively hopeless that you're going to get signed because all they're signing is stuff that you don't play, and you know you're not hearing it on the radio. But when Counting Crows started popping out and other bands like that, then we thought it was viable. And when you think that it's viable, and you have hope, the hope in a way, the commercial hope can get in the way of your creative abandon, let's say.
Sure.
And we were playing some of the most ridiculous combinations of music, you know, on any kind of commercial level. Oh, yeah. We would be doing something totally bluesy, and then maybe into a Santana style type of thing, and then something that was more grungy, and then an acoustic set in the middle, and you know, I mean,
it was all over the map.
We were throwing darts because we didn't care. We were just like, hey, this song's cool. We're gonna do this, you know, and everyone's got chops. We can do this well, and it was even better when we were drunk.
But yeah. But then, you know, how is some record company going to package that up and sell it? They're not, you know. Then you think, well, if we focused ourselves stylistically, well, maybe then they could package it and sell it. So
and
then
what happens
it starts
then?
to screw with your whole thing, your whole identity becomes
So
do
you had conversations on like trying to figure out, you know, experimenting with how to focus in certain sounds and then abandoning that later?
Oh yeah. You've got this song list of like whatever 35 songs. And you're like, well, what if we drop these ones because they're kind of over here in Passeville. You know, that's like too much of they're too derivative of this, that, or the other thing. So let's get rid of those, and then let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of all your songs. And
As a matter of fact, let's get rid of you.
We have this Loggins and Messina tune that we'd really like you to play.
That's true.
But you know, it becomes a point where you're not thinking from within; you're thinking from what's outside.
Yes,
of you.
it's true. Even though The Stranger, we've started out that way. We really did. We started out with an eye to go pop, and then kind of honed it. We tried to hone as we went, as I think the Saints did, and then you lose a lot of organicness at some point. But you know what you gain is a craft. Writing a pop song is not easy. I mean, that's the hardest thing to do, to try to fit what you're trying to say in a song, both lyrically and musically, in a 3-minute song. It's a huge challenge, and getting into that mode, and Dave and I both got into that mode, especially into Kerosene Dream, and then further on. And today still, it's a challenge to write a melody that can catch somebody in the first 10 seconds, you know, I take my hat off. If I was wearing 3 hats, I'd take them off to all those guys who do it. And, you know, that's still a challenge. You were asking about how we write songs. I mean, when I write songs, I was telling Mike this earlier, it has to build up inside. I'm not a guy that writes every day. I have to live, have it build up, and then I like to spend about a week alone if I can. It used to be a lot easier. I have to lock myself in the bathroom, but and then write it all.
That's how Dave and Ben started.
It keeps going right back to the bathroom. That's where our music should be. It started there and it's ending up there.
Now we know what success looks like. It's all in the bathroom.
That's how I write. It all comes out at once. I will sit and I'll write an album in a month.
In all fairness, it was a shower, not a toilet.
Dave, how do you...
On the record.
For the record, yes.
For the record. Hamilton Complex, something like that.
Pack your bags and quit your job and move up from LA. The summertime Portland is the best. We'll drive the coastal highway and we'll stop in San Francisco, and we'll never go to Amsterdam alone. We'll sail on the wind for the rest of our life in a world of our own. We're tied to the wind for the rest of our lives. I feel it in my bones. We'll proclaim our independence and we'll tell our favorite stories. We'll understand religion for a while. And we'll find solace in the darkness like rebels on a mission. And we'll never go to Amsterdam alone. We'll sail on the wind for the rest of our lives in a world of our own. We're tied to the wind for the rest of our lives. I feel it in my bones. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did you guys ever find yourself fighting geography? I mean,
Yes.
I really resonate with your sound, but what you're talking about when you were striving for going in that direction, I mean, all the bands that you're naming are from the South. I mean, that's where that college sound was coming from.
Yeah.
I suggested that we move there at one
Well, that was the
Cousin
big
Ben is
question.
And you
from
weren't
there.
the only one. There were many people who suggested you guys should move to the South. You guys should tour the South. You
Yeah.
guys should go away to the
Yeah,
South.
I was thinking they would just want to get rid of us.
And we had
and here you
the
are.
Renegade Saints even had a record label that says we should try to break your record in the South, not in the Northwest where we're from.
Because you're not Nirvana.
No.
No.
And
No.
yeah, it was, and not only that, but there's a whole other struggle with geography, which is being in the West, which is like, okay, the nearest big city is 3.5 hours.
I mean, you have to be
If you're on the East Coast, the nearest big city is about a stone's throw away.
If you plant yourself in Burlington, North Carolina, you can play a college gig, one college gig for a night for a whole month and never drive more than 30 miles.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, try that here.
You can't, yeah. And we put miles. We were running in buses and motorhomes, and I mean thousands and thousands of miles for 7 years. I mean, lots of time spent on the road. Where geographically,
Geographically.
we were challenged.
Not Dave and myself. We're geographically educated.
That's right, you guys are.
Where are you now? You are, I mean, the last album that I have, is that the
Yes.
last album? The last CD?
It's not the last. That is the most
Latest.
recent.
I'm sorry.
That
With all due respect.
for me, that was my most recent.
The most recent. And that
am
was what,
going to write-
2003?
That was
4? 3-ish?
02, I believe.
02?
No, it's not that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
No, 03.
And that was
Maybe it
Salvation
was.
Road.
04. That was
Salvation Road
that
with the haunting face of Bart Ferguson.
Yes, the good side.
The good-
That's my good side.
What does going back into the studio represent for you guys? Is that something you're working toward, or is success right now just gigging regularly around the Northwest?
Right now, at this moment, building I'd like to keep playing, but I definitely, I'm going to write a new album and definitely going to record again, and I'd love it if you guys would join me. Do it together.
I don't know, man.
No.
I don't want to get my mom to play keyboards again. She doesn't even know how.
What is the studio experience do to your music?
Ruins it.
Not for me. It enhances it.
Does it really?
I like it. I love the studio.
Why? Why? What does it do?
I'm excited by, I like working with, the songs are short, even though I love listening to these guys jam, but it's that crafting.
True diplomacy there. Isn't it?
I do, but it really.
I would call it.
And I would appreciate your vote this November.
But it's taking what you write. It's exciting, and you get to sing and make everything sound great and keep it together. And I love the studio experience, and I love recording new songs, and it'll happen again.
It does have a great effect of honing your songwriting and arranging skills and chops. If you've come in to the studio with a half-baked song, chances are somebody's going to point it out.
Exactly.
It'll come out on tape, and you can fine-tune it. And that's been my experience a few times where songs kind of improved a little bit. And in a couple of cases, they weren't improved. Mm-hmm. They were kind of hacked to bits. But by and large, I've learned a lot of good things about being in the studio, and it's improved my writing, which was, in the end, a really good thing.
How so?
Well, you write a song, and you teach it to the band plays it, everything seems fine, then you go to record it, and you realize, holy God, this thing's 6.5 minutes long when it's done from start to finish, and it doesn't need to be. It really doesn't need to be. You could really pull out 2-3 verses, and it still have the same impact. So that right there is a huge learning experience. I mean, I wrote a song, I really liked it, but then I realized I could chop out 3 minutes of it, and it would actually be a better song.
Wow. So is it like, self-produced? I mean, is it just you guys and the engineer?
It's been we've had several different situations.
Because you can take the flip side of that. Yeah, we've got a lot of different kinds of work we've all done. But our first at the earliest phase, 9 Days Wonder, when we did our first real CD and recording project, when CDs were new. I'll tell you, way back in the old days. That was a really glorious experience, and we had benefit of zero wisdom or experience. We had a great engineer, Bill Barnett, down in Eugene, Gung Ho Studios. So we sort of had the master's hand in guiding not green musicians, but green recording musicians. 9 Days was the jam band of jam bands. We would play till late. 3 in the morning, late, and to crowds that would be there, and had an endless list of songs that we would play, and it was just like all energy that you have when you're in your late teens and early 20s, exploring stuff. And then we tried to put all that stuff, some great Dave's initial songwriting, some incredible songwriting going on in the studio, but no experience. We didn't care how long the songs were, that kind of thing. Going in and then having a really capable engineer who was good at giving guidance, but also allowing the band to call its own creative decisions ultimately. And he steered us toward a CD that was a popular CD for about a decade in terms of like locals only and just the local buying presence. But more importantly, it's maybe the CD I look back and am the most proud of because of of us going in there and having even naivete going in. I think since then, we've applied the same logic of Devil May Care and come in with some real losing projects. We've also gone in real schooled and come out with some real losing projects. And we've also gone in real schooled and come out with some real great CDs.
So here you are 2 decades later. What's the formula?
And that's the zen of it all, is that it doesn't necessarily have to do with that kind of formula. I think, as we'll gather over bourbon and talk about this stuff, we'll come up with different conclusions between all of us and argue about it. But my feeling is there's a little bit of magic involved with that, and a little bit of how do you express it in the same way of being in a song when it's going well, or a take that's going well is not necessarily due to the preparation you've done or the things you've practiced. It is whether you're really playing the song and feeling that moment. You know, and a good engineer will interrupt you early in the song, early in the take, and say, "Your guys are a bunch of pansies." You know, you're thinking all about this. You know, so do what it takes to not be thinking about this, and we're going to take this again. You know, that kind of thing. That's a good engineer. It's not just a technical engineer; it's an emotional engineer. And the discipline in the studio is not just to get it right, but to be part of the song.
How does the studio experience change your live performances? Do you find it does?
Tightened. I mean, it brings everything together. And because when you go into the studio, I mean, everything is under the microscope. You can't get in there, all of a sudden you're recording, you're singing, or you're playing a note. It's all under the microscope. So when you come out of that project, your live shows definitely benefit. And then you throw back in your solo, your longer versions of different songs, and some you don't. But again, the studio makes you a better musician, and a better player, and a better singer.
It's hard work.
It is.
I think that before I went in, the first time I ever worked in a studio, I thought, this is going to be the coolest thing I ever did. And by the time I was through one day, I was like, man, this sucks.
It's so frustrating.
You know, and it's like, you know, and again, the microscope thing, it's like, you know, the smallest little mistake. One of my best memories of working with Bill Barnett down at Gung Ho, I was singing something, and he kept saying, "What is that noise? What is that noise?" And I had a shoelace loose, and I was rolling it underneath my foot like this. And the microphones were so sensitive that they're picking this up, and I had to redo all of these vocals because I was just sitting there just going like this with rolling you know, just fidgeting. I fidget. You know, I was just sitting there going like this, and I had to redo a bunch of stuff at what, you know, like $75 an hour or $120 an hour.
Also, we took the shoelaces out.
Yeah, we cut them off.
I mean,
The costly fidgets.
the first time I ever went into the studio, it blew my mind. I thought, I mean, we were
Am I in the right building?
21 years old or whatever. I thought, what am I doing here? I thought all my favorite bands, all that time before, I thought everybody went into the studio, into the booths at the same time and sang together. And it blew my mind that we didn't do that at that time. And you're like,
Track by track.
You start on scratch track. Then I started thinking back to Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, and thinking back to, you know, Dewey Bro, all my favorite groups throughout the years. I thought, oh my God, they weren't in there all together. And sometimes they were, and then the better you get, sometimes you're in there. But it really opened my eyes to what the heck. And I hate to date ourselves, but you know, when the first album, which was Dreams of the Land from the Strangers that I ever made, we didn't have automated boards or anything. So you're recording reel to reel, and then every take, it had to be perfect. And then when they mix it, they have to, it's the most stressful. I had to go stand outside most of the mixing, and if the guitar player was in there, because if you made a bad note, you know, start all over again. And there wasn't, today it's so much different. You've got automated boards.
You got that chorus
digital.
right. Let's just fly it into all of the choruses.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
Do 3 passes and you're done. But
Yeah,
back
it's
then
weird.
it was way harder.
That's
It was
weird.
it was a trip.
All right, where does your inspiration come from? That's the first question we had. That was a question from the audience.
Can I tell a funny?
Finally.
Can I tell a funny story about the other night
From
when we
inspiration?
played at the Dublin pub? You know, we were playing, and my sister-in-law has never seen me play before, and I didn't believe her when she said she was coming because she never does, and she showed up, and right when I was starting to do a solo, I looked up and I saw her there, and I thought to myself, God, I hope she thinks I'm good. You know, I mean, I don't know why. You know, it's like,
I mean,
you know, this is, you know, it's like, I don't want her just to think I'm just some jerk, you know, just, you know, wanking on a guitar, right? And like that.
Player.
And so that flashed through my head, and I was like, play a good one. And I played a really good solo. It was,
You did.
it was,
You
it was
ruled that
pretty
night, by the way,
tasty.
I will say.
And so that night, it came from seeing somebody that I care about, and who isn't familiar with me at all as a musician, zero, and I went for it for her. I don't know why. I took some shit from my wife for that when I explained that story, and she's now being referred to as my muse.
They know how to push the buttons, don't they?
What else?
What inspires songwriting is just, listening to strong songwriters who I'm influenced by melody and lyric, and so if I always go back to the same guys. I listen to a batch of records, and then I write an album. But
Who do you listen to?
I always seem to go back to Dylan, and I go back to Simon and Garfunkel. But you know what? I like Ryan Adams. He inspires me. Who else? Just
Steve Earle.
no, he's awesome. Writers who have strong melodies that I don't know. Sometimes if I listen to that stuff, it shoots me into my own direction. I'll listen to a melody that shoots me somewhere else that will strike something in me and then ignite inspiration and a melody of my own. And I don't know. How about you, Dave?
Oh, nice handoff.
Segue.
Now, I don't know where it comes from. I think it just comes out of the air.
Yeah.
And it's just a melody pops into my head, and I start throwing down some dummy lyrics with it until I can sit down and write some good lyrics to it. And that's how they come for me.
Who do you listen to? Anybody?
Oh, I change. I have a huge CD collection. I tend to pick up things here and there. Lately, I've been listening to Decemberists, but I love Counting Crows. I mean, that's every time they come out with something, I listen to that to death. And I don't know, Freddie Johnston. I don't know, whatever.
I think what I'm getting at there is it's interesting to me who inspires you guys. If you have any contemporary musicians that really strike you. I think the Decemberists is a really interesting choice because they tend to be sort of a throwback. Their style is very classic. Ryan Adams, I think, is an interesting choice too. I mean, as a contemporary sort of pop,
You just listen. I mean, you listen to music, but in the end, Dave's correct. When you sit down with a guitar or a piano, you sit down and you're alone, and you bang out. I mean, you bang out chords, same chords everybody plays, G's, D's, E's, F's, whatever. And then all of a sudden, that's me. That's me.
Well, you had 4 or 7.
There's more, but we don't want to bore you.
I mean, and at that point, you're alone, and your melody is going to come out. It always surprises me.
I gather that surprises some of your peers as well.
They know the chords I write.
There's no surprise there.
This comes from the harmonic.
We're opening the harmonica case.
Yeah, what do we got
There are about
here?
15 harmonicas in there, and how many of them are actually played?
No,
No.
you didn't just eat anything, I hope.
I'm not blowing on any of your harmonicas. We've
But
got
anyway.
C.
Yeah. So
We've got B.
You're gonna give them all of us, aren't you, Ben? That's
We've
great.
got F. So there's no.
We've
no,
We've
the
got
other side
A.
has the whole C, D, E, F, G,
The A.
and H.
And on this note,
C. D.
on behalf of Ben, who's quite busy, and Mike
E.
and Bart and Dave,
2 E's.
gents, thank you
And
for
thank
sitting
you.
down with us
Thanks,
tonight.
Pete.
You guys have
tracks are
played
great.
some
It's awesome.
fantastic music for us tonight, and so for those, the show was originally intended and dedicated to sort of the aspiring songwriters, and you guys are really have shown what it takes to really be successful and create quality music over many years. So we appreciate the opportunity to be able to sit down with you and introduce some folks to your music. This has been a
great.
real treat. So
Thank you, and
Thank
let
you.
them know the Dublin Pub.
yeah, when
7
Tell.
o'clock every last Friday of the month.
Every last Friday of the month, Dublin Pub. We'll put it
7
on the
o'clock.
website.
Is there a
Yeah.
website?
Is there a website? Where
Yes,
do we go?
BartFerguson.com.
BartFerguson.com.
What about Dave? You got a
You
website?
have a website?
Not anymore. I ditched it.
There's 9 Days Wonder on YouTube.
Nice.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
We will
they're
link
all on
9 Days
iTunes,
Wonder
all that
on
stuff. Kerosene
Yeah.
Dream,
Kerosene
this,
Dream?
9, they're
Oh,
all
I
up,
didn't
they're
know
all
that.
on,
I didn't know
on
that.
all that stuff.
Okay.
We'll check it out. We'll check
Yeah.
it out. And so we recorded some great tracks. We'll have those up available on the website at some point. And for Acoustic Conversations, Shane, Kurt, Pete, we're out. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Now I don't care what they say. I've seen her for myself. I don't care what they know. I'm not going with the flow. She showed me where to go. Down Salvation